On the 5th anniversary of my relationship with Ethan Shaw, he booked the most exclusive club in the city and invited all our mutual friends to celebrate. Tears of excitement streamed down his face as he knelt before me with deep, heartfelt devotion and proposed. Amid a chorus of cheers and envy, an engagement ring slid onto my ring finger. Just then, a fresh-faced female college student pushed the door open and, with an adorably innocent look, said, "Sorry, I walked into the wrong room." I clearly saw Ethan's expression shift. He mumbled some flimsy excuse and hurried out. I smiled faintly and didn't stop him. After he left, I slowly removed the engagement ring and, expressionless, made a call. "Mom, Dad, I agreed to the arranged marriage. I'll go home in 5 days to take over the family assets." When Ethan and I first got together, he was just a penniless nobody. To protect his pride, I hid the fact that I was the daughter of a wealthy family and stayed by his side as we built everything from scratch. For years, he was exquisitely attentive, handling everything about my daily life himself, terrified I might suffer even the smallest grievance. When success finally arrived, he faced a room full of reporters and said, beaming, "My partner is the only light in my dark life. Without her trust and support, there would be no Ethan Shaw today." The host, unable to hide their admiration, asked, "We've heard you name the company YQ because of your wife. Is that right?" In public, Ethan never hid his favoritism and indulgence toward me. At that question, he looked gently into the camera and said that the Y came from a playful twist on the Yan character in my Chinese name, and the Q came from the Chin character in my given name. The company's name was bound tightly together, just as according to him, he and I would be together forever. The room filled with warm applause. Many in the audience were moved to tears, and even the host seemed to float on pink bubbles of envy. For a long while, the internet was awash in romantic stories about our grand, heartfelt love. He not only gave me more than half the company's shares, but at every important occasion, I was inevitably by his side. If any man so much as approached me, he would be jealous for ages, as if he wanted to install cameras on me and lay claim to my gaze so I could see only him. Everyone knew Ethan loved me to the bone, so much it bordered on mad, unhealthy obsession. People around us envied me for having a husband whose career was skyrocketing and who was so deeply devoted. By their measure, my life had truly been worth it. But they didn't know his mistress had sent me countless bed photos, each one wild, each pose different. Before Ethan proposed, she messaged me, every word laced with provocation. "So what if you and Ethan have been in love for 5 years? So what if you stuck with him while he started from nothing? You're boring. He doesn't love you anymore. What's left is just a sense of obligation. Believe it or not, with a single look I can get him to come keep me company." After Ethan walked out that night, I stared for a long time at the words iced across the towering cake. "Proposal goes smoothly." Unable to look away. Now Ethan has wealth and power. Temptations crash in like waves, one after another. I actually understand this circle's lures even better than he does. Before that woman appeared, I naively believed he was different. Turns out I still lost the bet. But a loss is a loss, so what? A dog that's eaten filth holds no appeal for me. Half an hour later, Ethan came back dripping a light sweat, his body carrying a messy, cloying perfume. "Grace, I'm sorry," he said. "Something urgent came up at the company, and I had to handle it. I'm sorry I made you wait half an hour." He looked genuinely apologetic and reached up tenderly to cup my cheek. I dodged without a word, sick to my stomach. Those hands had caressed that woman's body more times than I could count. Our friends, full of envy, whooped and teased from the side. "Ethan, you feel bad just because Grace Quinn waited 30 minutes? The rest of us waited the same, and we don't see you feeling bad for us. Everyone knows you only have eyes for Grace, too sweet to taste and too delicate to hold. What did she do in a past life to land such a perfect husband?" Ethan laughed and scolded them lightly, then looked down at me with eyes so soft they could drown a person. "No matter how jealous you all are, it won't help," he said gently. "I belong only to Grace, now and in every lifetime." I let the corner of my mouth curl into a mocking smile. I tilted my head back and caught sight of the faint hickey peeking out from Ethan's collar. Even though he'd tried to cover some of it with concealer, the difference in color from the rest of his skin was obvious without looking too closely. This was that woman's way of flaunting her victory. Looked like the past half hour had been pretty intense. Was half an hour really enough? I spoke suddenly, my tone light. Why don't you go back for another round? For a split second, something unnatural flickered across Ethan's face. He looked at me a little nervously. Grace, are you mad? I forced a smile that looked natural enough. You haven't done anything to let me down. Why would I be mad? He rushed to respond. Why would I ever do anything to betray you? You're the only one in my heart. Everyone knows that. In front of all the envious onlookers, he took my hand tenderly, only to notice my ring finger was bare. The engagement ring was gone. His expression immediately turned frantic. Grace, where's the ring? Why isn't it here? I feigned confusion. Didn't you take it? My tone was so steady and his guilt so heavy that he actually believed maybe he had taken it himself. He patted down every pocket in a panic but came up empty. I stayed calm. Could it be you lost it during that half hour you were gone? His expression froze for a moment before he forced himself to appear composed. I'll go back and look for it. Just wait for me a little longer, okay? I gave a small smile. If it's lost, it's lost. No need to look. It's not like I can't afford another ring. Ethan's eyes reddened slightly. That ring was something he'd personally crafted after several sleepless nights. Inside the band, he had engraved the words, Tin is the heart of Yano, meaning Grace Quinn is Ethan Shaw's heart, and without me, he couldn't survive. Grace, it's my fault. I'm useless, losing something so important. His tall frame bent down, wrapping me tightly in his arms as if I might vanish at any second. Don't worry, I'll make you another ring exactly the same. Please don't be mad. I'm so scared you'll be mad at me. Resting my chin on his shoulder, I pressed down the ache in my chest and closed my eyes slightly. There's no need, Ethan. The music in the private room was loud, so he didn't catch what I said. He cupped my face, asking, Baby, what did you just say? I turned my head, avoiding his touch entirely. The light in my eyes was faint, my mood clearly low. Before the engagement party even ended, Ethan took me out. A chilly wind blew outside, and he immediately took off his suit jacket to wrap me up snugly. Then he went ahead to get the car. My phone buzzed, another message. The photo showed the club's restroom. The girl's spaghetti strap had slipped down her shoulder, her hand tangled in Ethan's hair as she kissed him deeply. The image was explicit, and the caption read, This time, it's your proposal party. Where will it be next time? I thought my heart might hurt again. But maybe I'd reached the point of total numbness. There was no feeling left at all. Ethan pulled up and stopped in front of me, stepping out to open the passenger door. Just then, a playful-looking girl walked up and tilted her head. Sir, can I grab a ride back to school with you? Out of the corner of my eye, I caught the instant his face went pale. He quickly stepped in front of me, as if afraid she might harm me. That's not convenient, he said without hesitation, immediately rejecting her. But Ruby Jo didn't take his warning seriously. Instead, she clasped her hands together, turning toward me with a pitiful look. Sister, I've had a lot to drink. It's dangerous near the bar. Could you give me a lift? Please, please. My gaze swept over him, lingering on the marks on his neck, then moved to her eyes, full of provocation. Unlike my own bold elegance, hers was something else entirely. She was like plain water on the surface, lashes just slightly damp with tears, the kind of thing that made people instinctively link her to a deep, ingrained purity. Sweet and coy in public, fiery and seductive in bed. Of course, Ethan Shaw wasn't immune to the universal rule for men. I only gave her a glance before looking away, my voice calm. It's up to him. After all, this wasn't my car, so naturally I had no right to decide who it should carry. I went straight to the back seat and closed my eyes to rest. Ethan came over, sounding helpless as he tried to reason with me. Baby, it's really late now. It'll be hard for her to get a cab, and it's not safe for a girl to stay out here alone. Why don't we give her a ride? She's headed toward the university district. It's on our way anyway. I opened my eyes and gave him a half smile that didn't reach them. Since when did you become so kind-hearted? I remembered that when we first got together, Ethan would go out of his way to keep his distance from other women, terrified I might overthink things. In business, he was decisive and ruthless, never giving opponents a chance. But somewhere along the line, He stopped rejecting deliberate closeness from women. Stopped turning down their advances. Or maybe he'd just gotten too good at hiding it over the last 5 years, so good that I never noticed. Seeing my cool expression, he immediately tried to coax me, treating even the smallest shift in my mood like it was critical. If you're not happy, I'll tell her no right now and let her get a cab. Other people's safety isn't our problem anyway. We should just live our own lives. The way he said it, so eager to cover his tracks, almost made me laugh. He'd slept with Ruby Jo more times than I could count, yet could still act like she was a stranger. I shut my eyes again, empty of emotion. A pretty girl like her, it's true it might be dangerous to get a cab this late. Hearing me relent, Ethan seemed to relax, his palm ruffling my hair. Baby, you're still as kind as ever. My lips curled in a faint, self-mocking smile. I hope you still think so when I sell my shares. Ethan told me to sit in the passenger seat, but I didn't move. Ruby slipped right in without hesitation, settling into the front like she owned it. Ethan's face darkened, and he yanked her out. Get out, only Grace sits in the front seat. Ruby pouted pitifully, leaning on my window. Sister, look how stingy your man is. You're not this stingy, right? Then, in a voice low enough only I could hear, she taunted. After all, we've already shared the same man. What's a passenger seat? Don't you agree, sister? I looked at her coolly. She blinked innocently at me before turning to Ethan with a sweet whine. See, she didn't refuse me. Then she darted back into the passenger seat before he could stop her. Ethan glanced at me apologetically, but I had already closed my eyes again. Such cheap theatrics, watching any longer would only dirty my eyes. In the car, Ruby spotted a photo of me and Ethan and couldn't hide the sourness in her voice. Sister, thanks for letting me hitch a ride. A man is lucky to have a woman as wonderful as you. While Ethan drove, he kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror. But my gaze stayed on the scenery outside, my face expressionless. Ruby, clearly irritated that his attention was on me, tried to needle me. Sister, can you share your secret for a happy marriage? Just then my phone buzzed. I opened WeChat. It was a message from Ruby. The picture showed her and Ethan pressed tightly together, unmistakably intimate. The next message read, Do you know how obsessed Ethan is with me? Up to today, we've gone through 150 condoms. One time he was so desperate, he didn't even bother with one. I couldn't bear to spoil his mood, so I just let him. Maybe I already have his baby by now. If I were you, I'd break up with him and give up your place by his side. After all, both his body and heart belong to me. You've only been with him for 5 years. He doesn't love you anymore. Why don't you just let us be together? Ruby Zhao's voice was playful, phone swaying in her hand as she sat in the front seat, smiling like she was the picture of sweetness. Ethan Shaw, catching the look on my face, immediately slowed the car. Grace, are you feeling unwell? Should we go to the hospital? I didn't show him the WeChat messages. This city was his territory. Once I left his side, he would seal off the whole area and drag me back. By then, getting away would be almost impossible. All I wanted was to take back what belonged to me, end this relationship quietly, without unnecessary confrontation. I'm fine, I said, but the words had barely left my mouth when a runaway truck suddenly came barreling toward us in the wrong lane. Ethan reacted instantly, yanking the wheel hard to avoid the collision. We missed the truck, but, in the dizzying spin that followed, a loud bang signaled a blown tire. The car flipped. The next thing I knew, the 3 of us were trapped under the overturned vehicle. Ruby was screaming non-stop in my ears, while Ethan's voice, raw and frantic, shouted over and over, Grace, Grace. He kicked the door open and scrambled out through the thick smoke. My head had taken a hit, I was dazed, my vision blurred. Ruby's cries were piercing. Ethan, hurry, save me, save me. He ignored her, calling my name like a madman as he fought his way to me. Grace, hold on, I'm gonna get you out. Even when shards of glass slashed his hands open and skin split under the force, he didn't care. He kept prying at the twisted passenger door until it gave way. He pulled me out, and when he saw the blood streaming down my forehead, his eyes went scarlet. Trembling, he crushed me in his arms. Grace, open your eyes, look at me. Don't scare me, it's my fault. I didn't protect you. Through the haze, I remembered 5 years ago when we went hiking together and I twisted my ankle. He had carried me along the muddy trail, sunlight falling over his shoulder and profile, looking impossibly handsome as he kept comforting me. "I'm here. You're fine." Back then, he was still a college junior, still full of a young man's earnest spirit. Back then, his entire world was me. Through the blood clouding my vision, I looked at him for a long moment before lowering my gaze. I couldn't understand how someone who once loved me like his own life couldn't even keep control of his own body. Bystanders managed to pull Ruby from the wreck. Her dress was ripped in the rescue, unable to hide the hickeys scattered across her skin. I almost laughed. Ethan carefully lifted me into the ambulance and climbed in after me. Ruby's face was pale, streaked with tears and snot, her sobs ragged. He glanced at her once, then turned away. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed. My eyes opened groggily to see Ethan sleeping beside my hand, still wearing the clothes from the crash. I frowned and pulled my hand away. His eyes snapped open instantly. He stood and wrapped me in his arms, eyes red, his voice breaking. "You scared me to death, Grace. Thank God you're okay. Thank God. If anything had happened to you, I'd never forgive myself." He held me like a man who'd lost half his life, murmuring over and over as if to keep himself sane. Even the nurse who came in to change my bandages couldn't hide her envy. "Miss Quinn, when you were unconscious, Mr. Shaw was like a man who'd lost his soul. He didn't even get his own injuries treated. He just waited outside the ER until he knew you were safe. A full day and night, he stayed by your side without sleeping." Ethan's jaw was rough with stubble, dark shadows heavy under his eyes. I looked at him without expression before speaking. "How's Miss Zhao?" Ethan's expression froze for a split second before he quickly recovered, as if nothing had happened. "She's just a stranger. Why should you care about her? The most important thing now is for you to focus on getting better." A buzz came from his pocket. When he saw the caller ID, his eyes flickered briefly. He reached out and gently touched my face, his tone full of tenderness. "You must be hungry. I'll go get you some porridge. You just rest." As soon as he left, I followed him quietly down the hall until I reached a nearby hospital room. Inside, Ruby Zhao's voice was thick with sobs. "If you don't care about me, why did you sleep with me, Ethan Shaw? You bastard. In the car accident, all you thought about was Grace. You didn't care if I lived or died. I hate you." She beat her fists against his chest, but Ethan, clearly impatient, caught her wrists. "The only person I love is Grace. She's the only one who will ever be my wife. Haven't I told you this from the very start? If you want to end it, then end it anytime. It's not like I can't live without you." Ruby cried even harder, her tear-streaked face like a lotus trembling in a storm. Ethan sighed, and in the end, he pulled her into his arms with a trace of pity. "Aside from the title of Mrs. Shaw and my love, I can give you anything else you want. What more are you unhappy about?" He brushed away her pitiful tears. "Don't cry, you won't look as pretty." Ruby sniffled, clinging to his waist. "Then you have to make it up to me." Ethan's expression softened into indulgence. "All right, then give me a kiss." He smiled as he lowered his head to capture her lips. Ruby's face flushed as her hands slipped inside his shirt, and soon the room was filled with indecent sounds. I took a slow breath, pulled out my phone, and snapped a picture through the crack in the door. Without a ripple in my expression, I turned and walked away. Only the fingers hanging at my side betrayed me, digging deep into my palm. Whether my heart hurt or not didn't matter anymore. Soon, everything would be over. My injuries weren't serious, so I was discharged the same day I woke up. Ruby's text message arrived as promptly as always. This time it was in the hospital room. I told him no, but he still insisted. The attached photo didn't affect me in the slightest. My own video was far clearer. Ethan called. His voice was apologetic. "Baby, I can't get away from the company right now. I'll have the driver take you home first, and tonight I'll make it up to you, okay?" My face remained blank. I hung up. Lately, Ethan had been busier than ever, always calling to apologize, the excuses predictable, urgent projects, sudden business trips. What he didn't know was that every time I hung up, Ruby would send me another explicit video. His so-called business trips were nothing more than him tangled in another woman's bed. I never once confronted him about his lies. That silence gave me the perfect window to prepare my exit. On the second-to-last day before I left, I gathered every photo and couples item connected to him and packed them into a suitcase. I dragged it to the small rental apartment we'd once lived in together. The place had no sunlight. The one-bedroom space was dim and damp, the bathroom so narrow it could barely fit one person. After we'd built our business and found success, Ethan bought the apartment as a keepsake. He'd said that when our child grew up, we'd come back every year to remember the sweetness after the struggle. I opened the windows to let in fresh air, then lit every photo in the suitcase on fire. Since everything began here, it would end here too. The first photo was of him wearing a thin down jacket, running 5 kilometers through falling snow just to buy me a steaming hot sweet potato. The second photo was of him in the mall, knee scraped from falling during a competition just to win me a plush toy as a prize. He'd grinned like a fool, arms open wide, asking me to hug him. The third photo was from the first time we signed a contract together, tears of excitement streaming down our faces. That project earned us $3 million. The fourth was taken on the beach, the two of us locked in a kiss, while he told me over and over that he loved me. It took from daylight until nightfall for the burning to finish. When the last photo turned to ash, our 5 years ended with it. As for the things that couldn't be burned, I smashed them with my own hands until they lay in pieces on the floor. When it was done, I left the apartment. Back at the villa, Ethan Shaw was standing at the door like an eager dog waiting for its owner. The moment I stepped out of the car, he rushed over, wrapping me in a shawl. "Where have you been? Why didn't you answer your phone? And in this cold weather, you didn't even dress warmer." I kept walking toward the house, my tone even. "Just dealing with some trash." "Why are you back so suddenly?" Ethan ruffled my hair. "What kind of trash do you need to handle yourself? Next time, give it to me. I'll take care of it." I didn't reply. After changing my shoes, I saw the dining table covered with dishes. Ethan crouched to put away my shoes. "Did you forget what day it is? Silly girl, today's our 5-year anniversary." He pulled out a chair and pressed me down into it. "Baby, happy 5-year anniversary." Like a magician, he produced an expensive necklace from behind his back and clasped it around my neck. "I picked an auspicious date, a week from now. Let's get married that day." "No." I lifted my eyes to him. He only tapped my nose with a lazy, indulgent smile. "I know it's a little rushed, but I'm more eager to marry you than anything. Don't worry, Grace. You won't have to worry about a single detail of the wedding. I've been preparing for this for years. All you need to do is stay home, try on dresses, and get ready to become Mrs. Shaw. Okay?" I met his loving gaze and wanted so badly to tell him no, to tell him he'd never get the chance to see me in a wedding dress. Remembering something in the kitchen, Ethan hurried off without noticing that his phone lit up on the table. I'd never gone through his phone before, but in a show of loyalty, he'd set every password to my birthday. It took only a moment to unlock it. There it was, a message from Ruby Jo. "Ethan, are you really not coming tonight? I'm in my safe period." Attached was a photo of her in a bunny costume, posing coyly, the image dripping with seduction. Before Ethan came back, I returned the phone to its spot. My own phone buzzed with yet another taunt from Ruby. She never seemed to tire of it. This time it was from the presidential suite at the Royal Crown Hotel. "Ethan got me a year-long membership here. I love the floor-to-ceiling windows. Guess, will he spend the anniversary with you, or will he enjoy the windows with me? Baby, happy 5-year anniversary to us." Ethan emerged from the kitchen with the last dish, still wearing an apron. "I made this myself." I quickly shut my phone, but when my eyes swept over the table, I suddenly found it hard to swallow. I stood to leave. Seeing my expression, Ethan rushed forward, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "Baby, did I do something wrong? Did I upset you? Tell me what I should do." I looked at his tense face for a long moment before quietly asking, "Ethan, do you really love me?" He answered without hesitation. "Of course I love you. I love you more than I love myself. Without you, I'd rather die." Ethan even raised his hand and swore with utter sincerity. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud, laughing until my stomach hurt, until tears came to my eyes. He thought I was happy and pulled me into his arms, murmuring some romantic nonsense. But then his phone rang, cutting through the moment. I immediately pushed his arms away. "Your phone's ringing." Ethan picked it up, and the second he saw the caller ID, his gaze flickered. He stepped outside into the yard to answer. When he came back, his face was full of apology. "Baby, there's a problem with the project. I have to go to the site." I wiped away the tears from laughing and forced a small smile. "Go ahead. Take care of your work." He kept apologizing. "I'm sorry, baby. You'll have to spend our anniversary alone. Tomorrow I'll make it up to you, okay?" I nodded with the gentleness and patience of the perfect partner. "All right." But my flight for tomorrow afternoon was already booked. There'd be nothing for him to make up. He left quickly, probably because Ruby Zhao's little bunny outfit was too much for him to resist. He didn't notice me removing the necklace, didn't sense anything different about me, and certainly didn't know this was my last day with him. After tonight, I would disappear from this city. No matter how much power he had, he'd never find me again. Ethan Shaw would lose Grace Quinn forever. On the day I left, I sold the custom designer dresses he'd given me to a second-hand luxury shop. Every cent, along with the jewelry he'd bought, went straight to charity. As for the messages Ruby had sent me, I printed every screenshot and spread them across the coffee table in the living room. The photos and videos I edited into a single file and emailed it to Ethan, along with a timed send to every employee at YQ set to go out the moment my plane took off. The shares I held in YQ had always been mine by right. Back when we started the company together, I'd worked just as hard as he had. So when I sold them at a low price to his biggest competitor, I felt no guilt, no reluctance. I've always been someone who holds grudges. If someone hurts me, I'll never let them walk away unscathed, and especially not a man I'd loved with everything I had for 5 long years. After signing the papers, the money went straight into my private account. I headed for the airport with my suitcase in tow. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. By now, Ethan must have found out I'd sold my shares. Over the PA, they called boarding for my flight. I turned one last time to take in the crowds at the terminal, then tossed my SIM card into the trash and stepped into the cabin. "Goodbye, Ethan Shaw. Never again." "What the hell are you talking about? This is my company. I'll have you thrown out." In his office, Lenny Orr lounged lazily in Ethan's chair, spinning once before tossing a document onto the desk. "Grace Quinn sold her 60% stake to me. I now own more shares than you. As of this moment, I'm the CEO of YQ. Please leave my office." Ethan flipped through the file in disbelief, and when he saw Grace's signature at the end, he staggered back 2 steps. He began dialing her number over and over, but all he got was a cold, automated voice. "The number you have dialed is not in service." At that moment, a new email popped up. It was from Grace. Something in him seemed to crack as he opened it. His hands trembled as he clicked on the video, explicit footage lit up the screen, and his pupils constricted violently. A second later, he didn't even glance at Lenny, bolting from the office like a man possessed. In the open workspace, people who had seen the mass email let their eyes drift toward him, whispers cutting through the air like knives. So all that tenderness toward Miss Quinn was just an act? He's had a mistress this whole time? Miss Quinn is so beautiful. She went through everything with him, and this is how it ends? Men are disgusting. No matter how good the woman at home is, the one outside is always more tempting. Ethan didn't care what they were saying. His heart was pounding out of rhythm as he ran red lights on the way back home. The moment Ethan Shaw stepped into the empty villa, it felt as if someone had ripped a massive chunk out of his chest. Grace, Grace. He stumbled up the stairs, crashing into walls as he flung open every door in the house, one by one, no sign of me anywhere. He tore through the bedroom, bathroom, dressing room, study, but everything of mine, clothes, jewelry, toiletries, makeup, was gone, as if my existence had been a dream that vanished into thin air. Not even a strand of hair remained. Every space where my belongings had once been was now bare. The photo albums had no pictures of us together, only his solo shots remained. Even the framed picture on the nightstand was gone. Ethan's pupils trembled in his dark eyes as he clutched the empty frame. His knees weakened, and he sank to the floor, staring into nothing. Panic surged through him like a tidal wave, crushing his nerves. "This can't be. This can't be. You wouldn't be this cruel," he muttered, instinctively rejecting the reality before him. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Lock down the whole city. Search every airport and station. The second you see Grace Quinn, detain her at any cost. She's an orphan. Without me, she can't survive. She must still be in the city. When he hung up, he stumbled out of the room. On his way down the stairs, he missed a step and tumbled, hitting the ground hard. He tried to stand, but his legs had no strength. Sitting there on the floor, tears streamed uncontrollably down his face. The empty living room echoed with the choked, stifled sounds of a man's sobs. A gust of wind swept across the table, scattering sheets of paper to the floor. Several landed right in front of him. When Ethan saw the printed screenshots of chat messages, his eyes burned red. Each one felt like a sledgehammer slamming into his skull. And then, that final cold reply from me, like a sharp blade plunging straight into his heart, tearing it open until it was nothing but bloody shreds. I wish you and your wife a long and happy marriage, with many children. I had known about his dirty secret all along, yet still played along with what he thought was flawless acting. If only he'd been more attentive, noticed the signs sooner. If only Ruby Jo had stayed in her place. Then maybe things could have been different. All of this was that woman's fault. Grinding his teeth, Ethan hauled himself to his feet and stormed out of the villa. Inside another house, Ruby Jo lounged on the sofa in the latest Chanel dress Ethan had bought her. On the table were several handbags worth tens of thousands each, plus a heap of high-end clothing. Sweetheart, all of these are from your boyfriend? They're not cheap? This pile must be worth a few million, her mother said in awe. Her younger brother, Changzhou, looked on greedily. Sis, your boyfriend's loaded. You'd better hold on to that golden goose. Ruby tilted her chin, her tone dripping with superiority. This is nothing. My boyfriend's the CEO of YQ. He's worth billions. Once I become Mrs. Shaw, this kind of money will be pocket change. Chiang frowned. Didn't the news say he has a fiancée? Ruby smirked. That woman is completely unresponsive in bed. I'll have Ethan dump her soon enough. She spoke with absolute confidence, right until a sudden, resounding slap sent her head spinning. Stunned, she looked up into Ethan's bloodshot eyes, clutching her cheek. Ethan? Smack. Another slap, harder than the first, sent her toppling to the floor, dazed. Her brother and mother rushed to help her, but when they recognized the powerful man from the news as their benefactor, they froze, not daring to act rashly. Ethan, why are you hitting me? Ruby asked, her voice trembling in confusion as she stared at his cold, impassive face. Ethan's fists clenched so tightly his entire arm and chest trembled. Didn't I warn you? You were never to let Grace find out about us. Didn't I warn you? If anything ever happens to Grace, I'll make you wish you were dead. Ruby Zhao still tried to play dumb. I don't know what you're talking about. The next second, Ethan Shaw hurled the printed chat logs straight into her face. The edge of the paper scraped her cheek. Ruby Zhao, what the hell do you think you are, daring to flaunt yourself in front of Grace? When she saw the messages, the color drained from her face. She began wailing loudly, putting on a pitiful act. Ethan, I'm sorry. I just love you too much. I want to be your only. Her words cut off as his long, slender fingers clamped hard around her throat, cutting off her breath. The searing pain of suffocation brought her closer to death than she'd ever been. His eyes grew colder with each passing second, the pressure of his grip leaving no doubt of his intent. My only is Grace. Who gave you the courage to provoke her? She means more to me than my own life. Who gave you the right to hurt her? Ruby pounded at his arm in desperation, her eyes filled with terror. Her brother Chiang and her mother rushed forward, trying to shove Ethan away. Mr. Shaw, let go. You're going to kill her. But Ethan didn't seem to hear, muttering under his breath, If I kill her, maybe Grace will come back. Ruby's face went paper white. Summoning the last of her strength, she gasped out, Ethan, I'm pregnant. I'm carrying your child. His gaze dropped to her stomach, pupils contracting. Ruby took advantage of his distraction, wrenching herself free and collapsing to the floor, clutching her throat and coughing violently. So you're pregnant? His tone was flat, without the joy she'd expected. Instead, his entire presence radiated a cold, suffocating pressure that made her shiver. Effia? Pregnant? Did she really think having a child would give her the leverage to push Grace out? Pathetic. My children can only be born by Grace, Ethan said icily. He grabbed Ruby and dragged her toward the door. He would make her get rid of it. As long as the baby was gone, as long as he drove her out of the city, everything could go back to the way it was. Grace would come back. Yes, That was how it had to be. Ignoring Ruby's sobbing pleas, Ethan shoved her into the car. "Ethan, it's your child. You can't. You can't." He yanked her hair, voice like steel. "It's a bastard. Do you hear me? A bastard. Only Grace's child is mine." Terrified by his violent aura, Ruby shrank back against the seat, pounding on the window. She had never imagined that the man who had been tender with her in bed could, after just one day apart, turn into someone so cold, so unhinged. "Help. Mom, Chung, somebody help me." Chiang rushed forward but was dropped to the ground by a single punch from Ethan. Ruby's mother wailed, drawing a crowd. Soon the police arrived and pulled Ruby from the car. "Mr. Shaw, you have no right to force her to have an abortion," one officer said firmly. Ethan's gaze locked on Ruby. Then suddenly he let out a cold laugh. "Fine, let her have it." With one phone call, he ordered every bag, every piece of jewelry he had given her to be taken back. Overnight, Ruby was reduced again to the poor student she had been before. Without money, Chiang grumbled constantly. "Well, now you've done it. No dowry, no house, gone. I told you to give it up, but no, you had to keep pushing. You really think having this baby means a man like that will marry you?" Without money, her mother's face grew darker by the day. "Useless thing. Can't keep a man, can't keep the money. What good are you?" Ruby could only cradle her stomach, her eyes filled with helplessness. At first, Ruby Jo thought Ethan Shaw was only trying to scare her. But when she couldn't reach him on the phone, when he blocked her on WeChat and cut off all means of contact, she finally realized he hadn't been joking. Still, she clung to a shred of hope, refusing to believe that once the child was born, Ethan would truly ignore his own flesh and blood. For a whole month, Ethan turned the entire city upside down, but there was no trace of me. I had vanished completely, with a finality that left no door open back into his world. When his assistant finally found him, Ethan was at the villa, clutching my side of the bed as if it were his only lifeline. He was drunk out of his mind, hair long enough to fall into his eyes, jaw covered in stubble, a far cry from the confident man he had once been. "Mr. Shaw, we still haven't found Miss Quinn." The assistant stepped over empty bottles to reach him. Ethan's lifeless eyes held no spark. He only held the bedding tighter, inhaling the faint trace of my scent still lingering there. The assistant sighed. "If you'd known it would come to this, why make those choices in the first place? Still, we did find that before she left, Miss Quinn went to this address." He handed over a slip of paper. When Ethan saw it, something flickered in his eyes. Stumbling to his feet, swaying, he stared at the address without moving. Seeing how drunk he was, the assistant kindly drove him to the location. At the apartment there was no sign of me, only ashes scattered across the floor. A lump rose in his throat as he bent to pick up a torn corner of a photo. Only half my face remained. It was the sole thing I had left behind. He fell to his knees, pressing the fragment to his chest. His heart clenched painfully. "Grace, you're so cruel. Grace, where are you?" He choked on my name again and again, but no one was there to hear it. The assistant placed the file in his hands. "Mr. Shaw, Miss Quinn is gone. You can't bring her back. You need to pull yourself together. The company is barely surviving under Lenny Orr's control. Life or death is hanging in the balance. Most of the employees have already resigned." Ethan kept whispering my name as if the assistant hadn't spoken at all. With a sigh, the assistant set the file down and walked away. Suddenly, Ethan coughed up blood, collapsing to the floor. Through his blurred vision, he saw a ring lying in the ashes, stained with red. Carefully, he picked it up, wiping it clean with his shirt. Inside the band, the engraving read, "Tin is the heart of Yano. Grace Quinn is Ethan Shaw's heart." Hunched over, he clutched the ring to his chest so tightly that the veins on the back of his hands bulged, his whole body trembling. "Grace, you knew all along. You've been cruel from the start. On the day I proposed, you were already planning to leave. Grace, I know I was wrong. Please come back, I'm begging you, come back." In November of that year, YQ declared bankruptcy. Far away in the capital, I learned of it from the news. I swirled the wine in my glass, my gaze calm and detached as it lingered on the television screen. Once, he had said the company's name was bound to ours forever, just like we would be. Now we had gone our separate ways, and the company, too, had faded from the city where it began. Someone draped a shawl gently over my shoulders. The man beside me, someone I knew well, asked softly, "That was your ex, wasn't it?" I adjusted the shawl and looked away from the screen, not hiding the truth. Yes. He paused for a moment, then fixed his eyes on me. Do you still love him? I shook my head without hesitation. No. Call me cold. Call me heartless, it doesn't matter. The moment Ethan hurt me, I had already pulled myself out of the relationship with perfect clarity. Life only gives us a few short decades. Why waste your life on someone who isn't worth it? Whoever loves me, I'll love them back. Whoever hurts me, I'll kick them out of my life. That's my view on love. The man beside me, Gavin Gu, let out a faint smile, almost in relief. Our families have a joint project here in the city. We'll need to make a trip. When Gavin said this, he studied my expression carefully. I lifted my lips slightly. Do I have to go in person? He considered his words. It's an important project. It'd be best if you went yourself. But if it makes you unhappy, I can go alone. Gavin was my arranged match. Perfect in every way. I neither liked nor disliked him. My feelings toward him were calm, almost indifferent. But if the family required it, of course, I would go. When we arrived in the city, snow had begun to fall. I wore a red velvet mermaid dress, the hem fluttering like layered waves with each step. Gavin and I went to the project site, and after the inspection, we walked out of the company building. That's when I saw Ethan Shaw. Grace. In just 3 months, he looked as if he had aged 10 years. The confident, proud man he once was had vanished. His eyes were wet as he looked at me, but the security guards held him back a good 10 meters away. Grace, you're back. Grace, I've missed you so much. He had searched for me all over the world, spending nearly all of his fortune, driven half mad with longing. But he never knew I had hired professional hackers to protect my privacy. There was no way he'd ever find me easily. I gave him a single, indifferent glance, like looking at a stranger, then pulled my black coat tighter and walked away on high heels. Grace. Ethan shouted desperately, breaking free from the guards just long enough to get thrown to the ground again. Let me go. That's my fiancée. Let me go. Fiancée? One guard scoffed. She's not your fiancée. Miss Quinn is the only daughter of the Tang family in the capital, the heiress of Tang Corporation. Her marriage alliance is with the Gu family, one of the 4 great families in the capital. Ethan froze where he knelt, as if struck by lightning, staring numbly at my retreating back. A tall, straight-shouldered man slipped off his coat and draped it gently over my shoulders. No, impossible. Grace was an orphan, just like him. How could she be the Tang family's daughter? It had to be a mistake. Grace. His hoarse cries couldn't even win a passing glance from me. The security guards threw him out. Ruby Zhou, heavily pregnant, hurried over to help him up, her words dripping with malice. Ethan, Grace must have found herself a new rich man. That's why she's pretending she doesn't know you. Even though YQ had gone bankrupt, Ethan still had several houses and a good amount of money under his name. But word of Ruby's affair had spread to her school, and she'd been expelled. Now Ethan was her only support, so she clung to him relentlessly. Smack! Ethan struck her hard across the face, knocking her to the ground. His bloodshot eyes blazed. I won't allow you to talk about her like that. Ruby's cheeks swelled instantly, her eyes filling with venom. Oh, and what will you do about it? You think you're still the Ethan Shaw you used to be? You're pathetic. If you loved her so much, why did you sleep with me over and over again? You couldn't even control yourself. She doesn't want you, and you deserve it. You're stuck with me for the rest of your life. Ha ha ha. Her words hit him like a whip, and Ethan struck her several more times, each blow harder than the last. Ruby's screams turned into wails, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth as waves of pain gripped her lower abdomen. Pregnant woman bleeding. She's bleeding, someone shouted. Bystanders pulled Ethan away, and Ruby fainted from the pain. Sitting in the car, I watched through the window and slowly raised it shut. So Ruby had gotten what she wanted. She was pregnant. But that child likely wouldn't survive. And what did that have to do with me? Let's go. I pulled my shawl tighter as Gavin started the car. The moment we left, I saw Ethan in the rearview mirror, chasing after us like a madman. He stumbled and fell, then got up again, knees torn open and bleeding. Gavin glanced at me. If he keeps running after us like that, he's gonna get himself killed. Are you sure you don't want to check on him? In the end, I still got out of the car. White snowflakes fell softly onto my black shawl as I stood over the man who once claimed to love me more than life itself. Grace. I've missed you so much. Grace, please come back to me, okay? His arms clamped tightly around my legs, his voice hoarse with desperation. Blood from his knees smeared onto the hem of my dress. No, I said flatly. The color drained from his face. Why? Just because I cheated? His tone turned frantic as he rushed to promise. I'll never do it again, I swear. Never again. We can start over, okay? For 5 years, Ethan had always been the one above it all. Confident, in control, untouchable. I had told him I was an orphan, and because of that, he thought he could betray me without consequence, certain I had nowhere else to go. I had told him I had no one in this life but him, and so he believed I could never leave. I gave him a cold smile. And why would I ever want a dog that's already eaten shit? I made every word crystal clear. Ethan Shaw, you're the one who pushed me away. From now on, whatever women you want, it has nothing to do with me. And my future, who I am with, has nothing to do with you either. I kicked his hands away and got back into the car. He sat on the ground in humiliation, my words hitting him so hard he seemed unable to breathe. Grace, let's go back to the way things were, okay? Grace, give me one more chance. He pounded on the car window, but I slowly closed my eyes. Gavin turned on the car's music, soft, gentle notes that shut out Ethan's heart-wrenching cries. The car pulled away, leaving him behind. Ruby Zhao lost the baby. Worse, she lost her uterus. The Zhou family wasn't about to let Ethan off the hook. They brought more than a dozen people from their village to confront him, demanding compensation. During the altercation, Ethan and Ruby's brother tumbled down the stairs together. Ruby's brother was left paralyzed from the waist down, confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. From that day on, Ethan seemed to lose his grip on reality. Whenever he saw a girl with a figure similar to mine, he would call out Grace with pleading eyes, even dropping to his knees to beg for forgiveness. The strangers, terrified, would call the police. Eventually, Ethan was sent to a psychiatric hospital. The little money he had left was split. Part of it went to the Zhou family for medical expenses, the rest to pay for his own treatment. That day, snow began to fall again. He sat in the courtyard, thinly dressed, as snowflakes settled on his shoulders and hair. Ethan stroked the ring in his hands with trembling care. Here, Grace, I found the ring again. This time I'll never lose it. Never again.